Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as manager, the guy in charge, the skipper, as they call it, of your Worcester Red Sox. That would be Chad Tracy joining me today. Chad, it's great to see you. Happy 2024. And, well, baseball season starts pretty soon. Although, does it really ever end for you? Let's step back to like the end of the season for a second, because October kind of wraps up and they go through the postseason and you're still kind of into it.
Yeah.
What happens after? I mean, because I know you're real vested in everything that's happening, just because there's so much around the sport. What happens right after like the World Series ends for you?
Well, I think honestly, when the World Series ends, you're kind of hovering towards that Thanksgiving, Christmas period, because the World Series usually takes you into November. So you're getting to the point where baseball as a whole just kind of slows down a little bit as the holidays approach and people spend a lot of time with their families in that month time frame. Then you blink and the new year happens, and right when the new year ends is kind of, for a baseball person, your mind clicks back on. It's like it's getting close to being time to go again. So I think that November window, like early November all the way up till Thanksgiving, when Thanksgiving comes, that's kind of where you maybe shut it off a little bit, and really dig into the off season. And then post New Year, you turn it back on in a big way.
What is the anxiety level for you as far as the list of things you had to complete at the house? Like it's like, oh shoot, it's February. I really, I started that project in the basement, or I really wanted to clean the garage, because once it hits, I mean, there's not, you don't really get to go home all that much during the season, if at all.
Not at all. And it's funny you asked that, because it's dead on. Like this, I have a list on our whiteboard in the kitchen that's fairly substantial of, just like you said, high level things like, hey, if I don't do this now, it's going to be 8 months before I get to it. Between spring training and the end of the season, we're talking about an 8-month window where I won't see my own bed. So, yeah, I got a fairly sizable list of, the basement was on it, the basement storage area, some fence posts out back I need to fix. I fixed a garage door opener the other day. So there's a lot of things, anything that in my head pops up that's like, I don't want to leave my wife for 8 months without this.
Right.
I'm trying to get it taken care of right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you have like that same anxiety I do. It's like it's November and December. You're like, oh, I got plenty of time. Oh, that's how I approach Christmas shopping. To be honest,
Yeah.
It's like December 20th. I've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
I totally don't need to go shopping. There's 4 more days. I'm good. I'm
No
fine.
doubt.
I'm buy. So,
Yeah, you inevitably put it off, and then you think you got plenty of time, and then you're inevitably scrambling before you walk out the door on February 11th to try to get it all done. So,
well, good luck, and thank you for fitting me in during this,
Yeah.
this process. You can blame me. That's fine. Emily, I'm sorry. This was all my fault. I'm the one that pressured him into it. You grew up, I know you talked about this on WooSox Insider. You've talked about it. You've grown up in a baseball family. Obviously, your dad was a manager for many years in the major leagues, and he's got such a storied career. And you mentioned at one point, you said, okay, at the age of 2, you were crawling around clubhouses. My question off of that is, at what age did you realize that fireworks on the 4th of July were not necessarily for your birthday?
That's what my mom always used to tell me. She always used to say that, especially when I was young. Like, look, at all this is for you. And it's like, no, it's for the fans. But I would say, I'll answer that. I'll say, I'll about 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, oh, wait a second.
And I'm answering that way because, like, I go back to like my dad's career and following him around in the minor leagues all the way through the minor leagues. My first like vivid memories of his minor league stuff was in 1993 when he was in Harrisburg managing Double-A with the Expos at the time, which is obviously is now the Nationals. But
Sure.
The Harrisburg Senators, 1995, I would have been about 8 or 9 years old. I have vivid memories of that year and that team. They ended up winning the Eastern League. So that's where I feel like, that's where my memories kick in, at least, of like, man, this is amazing that I get to do this stuff and be in here and do all this. And it's probably about that time where I realized that the fireworks were no longer for me, that it's the 4th of July.
How come my colors every year for my birthday are red, white, and blue? I don't get it, Bob. I wanted green and orange this year. It's It's just what was out and available.
Yeah.
So your birthday is the 4th of July. I will have you know that I did avoid, I absolutely took a little, a little free reign. I did not say our own Yankee Doodle Dandy as was scripted for your happy birthday greeting this year. Sorry, Dr. Charles. I took a little liberty on that one. Didn't think you'd want that attached, but nonetheless, that's great. And you're coming up on your 39th birthday this year.
Yeah.
The last one before you hit
Yep.
the big 4-0.
Yeah.
So it's that's how's that list of
It's a
things?
big one, right? It's
Yeah,
the last year of my 30s coming up,
that's
so we're
it.
gonna really enjoy it.
Let's talk about your family for a second because you got an absolutely. Oh, by the way, let's not forget I
There
am
you go.
Avery. There you go, and hello to Austin. I spend more time with Avery and Austin and your wife. I get to see them in the halls passing
Yeah.
than I get to see you really during the season. But you've got this beautiful family. You guys spend a lot of time together, even during the season. Seeing the family they come out after school and
Yeah.
everything. That's a special time for you because it's different for the kids.
Yeah, it is. It'll probably be a smaller window this year. My daughter's she's 9, so she's getting to the age of like, she wants to see her friends a little bit in the summer too. But yeah, it's cool for me because it's almost a first full circle moment, like watching them come out and spend the summer with their dad, like I did with my mom and dad when I was young, and getting to see their eyes light up with all the cool stuff they get to do around a ball field. It really it comes full circle for me to see them do that, and they love it. They absolutely love Massachusetts. My wife is amazing. It's not just baseball, right? She takes them all over. She takes them up to Salem. She takes them to the coast. She takes them over to Cape Cod and visits, takes day trips. Everything's so close. So really sinks it in for them, like how, so they have a really good time with it. And I've already kind of prepped them for this year, and they're ready to go. They're very excited to come back out.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great things. I mean, obviously, I grew up over here. I've lived over here in southern New England my whole life, and there's a lot of history stuff. There's a lot of great museums and everything.
Yeah.
The WooSox Foundation just recently partnered with the Worcester Ecotarium, which is a great thing. We're members ourselves, and
Yep.
we've gone there. It's such a blast. The kids have my daughter has a great time. I know your kids have a great time as well. And
Yes.
so that's one of the things looking forward to. Speaking of younger players, and you've mentioned that your kids are into sports and everything. How is that for you as a dad who, works in a professional sport and to stand back on the sideline sometimes or watch that, or as you're watching different, maybe it's friends or family members, other family members perhaps doing little league growing up. What's that like for you as you're watching that?
It's cool. I mean, right now, obviously, it's too cold in the Northeast or here in the Midwest for baseball. Really, it's been freezing outside. But my son's taken up basketball. I played a lot of basketball when I was young. Played all the way through high school. So standing out on the outside watching him, 5-year-old basketball, like they're allowed to travel and they don't call it all, but he's learning how to play. And he's pretty good. So like, and we just discovered basketball this year. Like the neighbor allowed us to use the hoop next door because they had one installed when their kids were younger. I took him out there one day and he couldn't even reach the rim, and now he's throwing. I mean, we have it lowered, obviously,
Sure.
but now he's making shots left and right. So it's to see him take to it at such a young age is cool. I know it's the same with baseball. It stinks that that's my profession. I don't get to see him play that much because the season inevitably starts after spring training begins. But I get videos from my wife, and we try to work on it when I get home from the season as much as we can while the weather permits. But it's really, really, really a lot of fun. It brings back memories of me and my dad and my mom dragging me around, little league fields, 3 different sons of all different ages. She's at the little league field all day. So being able to like see them really enjoy sports. My daughter plays volleyball. Played her first volleyball season this year for her school, and she absolutely loved it, and she was pretty good at it. So it's cool watching them come of age, and they're starting to find things that they not only that they're a little bit that they're good at, but that they enjoy. And then we just roll with it. We're just going to keep letting them try things, but it has been a lot of fun to watch them grow into that.
I know you get a chance every now and then to chat with high school and even college players. What's some advice that you give, or what are some of the questions you get from, athletes that are potentially looking at, getting deeper into the sport or perhaps, pursuing professional sports on a stronger level? What do you, because I mean, you can't necessarily, really get into the nitty gritty with them because that takes so much time. But from your level, what do you say to them?
I actually get more questions from like, just different people that know what I do. I get a lot more questions about, their kids or like playing sports in general. Like, hey, what do you think about him playing year round? Or, that ever so often debated topic of like, should they play multiple sports or whatever? And I get that question a lot from people I know or other parents, and my answer usually is always like, let them, as long as they enjoy it and they're young, let them play as many sports as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and number one, I think they'll find what they truly love by doing that. Like if they go through the cycle of it each year, like, which part of it they're like, I don't really want to do this, and which part of it they truly fall in love with. But also, I do believe skills are transferable across sports, and not just sticking to one thing, but taking a break from baseball and or say play basketball and then take a break from that and you roll right into baseball season. And you become an athlete, right? Like you can, hey, I can golf, I can play basketball, I can play baseball, and you can do all kinds of things at a young age. I don't think that hurts you in any way. And as you get older and older, and you get closer to you're really honing down on what you're really good at or what you enjoy, then you might be able to start specializing in something for a little bit longer span of time, and maybe even if it's not year round, for a longer span. But I just think that as you grow into your body and different things like that, and you're gaining coordination, all that, I just think being able to do a lot of things or try a lot of things is helpful. So that's a question I get more often than anything else.
I like the part you said. As long as they're happy, let them play.
Yeah,
Let them play. That's the key thing.
that's it.
All right, so let's switch on to the season here because you're coming up, and in just a short time, or depending on when people are watching this, you'll be down in Florida. What is spring training like for you as a manager of the AAA team? Is it more administrative? Is it more hands-on? Like, how does that, not specifics, but what's that balance? Because, I only learned recently that the major leaguers are on one field, the farm systems are in the other, and there is some crossover. I was talking with our good friend, the sensational Mario Alvera. How does that schedule work out for you, and what's that day like?
Well, I think a lot of you're right about that. I mean, there's definitely, separate entities, but a lot of the players that will more than likely end up in Worcester, a good portion of them at least, not all, but they'll be in Major League camp. So they'll spend a good chunk of their time in Major League camp, as will a good portion of our staff. So we're really in that setting, we're more the support staff. The Major League staff, obviously led by Alex Cora, is they're the leaders of the ship,
Sure.
and what we want to get done on a daily basis in Major League camp. That's their thing, and then us as a AAA staff, we're there to help. Like, okay, we're doing this on this field. We need a few coaches there. That's going to require a few coaches hitting fungos. So boom, I'm over there and I'm going to help hit fungos over there. Obviously, Alex and his staff are wonderful. So they encourage us, if we see teachable moments, especially with kids that we've had before, we jump on those and we help. And everybody's kind of on the same page or gets on the same page as to what each guy is working on. But definitely more of a supporting role to our Major League staff in that setting, because it is a lot of players in Major League camp, and certainly a lot in minor league camp as well. But we're there to kind of even out those numbers and make sure we have enough coaches to hit fungos and take care of the things that need to get taken care of. There's a little the administrative stuff, not as much. There more of that is just me getting prepared for Worcester.
Okay.
I'll spend my free time, chatting with our staff about how I want to do things when we get there. What would they like to do? What's their vision of, the day, and trying to start to put together what I think daily schedules could look like. What I want our initial team meeting to sound like. What do I want to include in that? I spent a lot of time working on that stuff as we move through spring training, but more complimentary role with our big league staff for the rest of it.
All right. Very technical question,
Yeah.
because you know my extent of baseball knowledge. What's a fungo?
Just a long. If you see me out there, and whacking ground balls in Worcester. Just a long, skinny, very light bat that makes it easy to swing a lot of times and not get exhausted.
Okay.
It's basically a coach's bat, right? The
Oh,
players
okay.
have their bats. Our bats are much longer and skinnier, and they are easier to swing, and you can swing, 250 times a day and not come out of it completely exhausted.
Or five times for your
Yeah.
public address announcer, and
I am
all the
required to swing it more than 5 times in a day. It's
I,
usually in the hundreds, per day. But I love to hit fungos. It's fun.
That's why they found the best use for you, and they found the best use for me. Stay up there in that little box. Don't leave. Couple quick questions. Just getting to know Chad Tracy a little differently, a little personally. What was the first CD or album you like truly owned? Like, was the first one not by accident? You just happened to inherit, Jimi Hendrix from your dad. I'm like the first intentional CD or cassette or album that you ever owned.
Oh gosh. I honestly probably can't remember. I could say probably Really Group Alabama.
Of course.
We used to listen to that all the time going, when we'd go fishing. We'd drive, it's a couple hour drive from where I lived in Florida to Lake Okeechobee. We'd go back and forth in a day and fish all day. And he always had that on in the CD, in the CD holder in the car. So we listened to that constantly. I'm sure at some point that got passed down to us.
Okay.
And ever since then, I've become a fan. I'll throw that on, Spotify or something when I'm driving just to listen to it and reminisce. So like that's probably something like that.
All right. What was your first car that was officially yours, not shared with the family, like the first vehicle that was yours?
First vehicle that was GMC Jimmy is the first car that I drove back and forth to high school.
Okay.
A 1994 GMC Jimmy, I think, is what we had. That was handed down to me and my brother. My first one that was like mine was a Jeep Grand Cherokee, like a light blue Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first cell phone was? Because you're in. See, I was born in 81. You were born in 85.
Yeah.
And they sometimes call us Xennials. You're more of a millennial. I'm more of a Generation Xer.
Yeah.
What was that first cell phone you had? Do you remember?
Little miniature, silver, just a little small silver flip phone.
Okay.
With the little antenna that you had to pull out.
That made all the difference.
And the only game that was on it was Snake, right? Where you had the little thing going around, grabbing the little circle, and he got bigger as he went.
Right.
That was a little free period at high school or whatever. I'd mess with Snake. That was for the little tiny little thing.
Yeah.
You had to push, the number 2 like 4 times to get the letter you wanted.
Right. Yeah. Text messaging was
text messaging. It would take like 10 minutes to send a sentence. But that was my first phone. Yeah.
We went from those phones, and the trend was they got smaller and smaller. It was really cool. And the LGs came out. Now
we're going the other way.
Exactly. I want the Pro Max. I mean, I'm holding practically an iPad Pro in my hand. Like, oh yeah, this is great. This is so conveniently fitting in my pocket. That's why cargo pants should never go out of style. Absolutely. When you were a kid, did you ever do the classic move of filling a wiffle ball bat with sand or cement, if you had it around, and using that to play?
So we played baseball. We played baseball in the street. We had a group of kids on our street. I mean, a ton of kids on our street where I grew up. And we'd go out in the street and play baseball with an aluminum bat and a tennis ball.
Okay.
And man, we'd be hitting this thing. Anyways, we pulled the lid off the aluminum bat and stuffed the bat with tennis balls, thinking we're corking the bat and it's going to give it a little extra hop, even though I'm like, we're hitting a tennis ball, so I don't think it's working that much. But we thought it was fun. So we had aluminum bat, like stuff with tennis balls that we'd use, and we'd have kids out in the street play with our bare hands. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we got caught at my buddy's house because when we cut the cap off of the wiffle ball bat, stuffing that with sand and rocks, and trying to pour water, and like, oh yeah, this will congeal. We were brilliant scientists back then. And his dad came home. He's like, what are you guys doing? Come on, we had like duct tape around the bottoms of
that's funny,
pouring out and everything, getting you all dirty. So I was trying to any other crazy childhood stories around baseball that you could share legally without without the fear of statute of limitations.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Not a ton childhood wise. I mean, no. I remember being, I love the sport. Obviously, you mentioned the story. You said, I probably said it to you somewhere in passing about being 2 years old and I was dragging a wiffle ball bat everywhere with me. I have pictures of it. My mom does, at least. My mom and dad has this little yellow wiffle ball bat. I used to drag it around with me everywhere I went. And yeah, I don't remember that. Obviously, I can look at it in the pictures and see it, but I know it's been a passion or a love of. I picked up on it at 2 and loved it ever since. But no crazy stories. I got lost one time when I was like 4 or 5 in Chattanooga. My mom tells me that story all the time in between games of a doubleheader, and game one ended, and I just went straight to the car. I knew right where the car was. She parked in the same spot all the time, and she couldn't find me, and they scrambling to find me, and then went out and found me standing next to the car, and thinking, well, it's a doubleheader. You got to come back inside. So I always thought that story was funny, just because it's like we get so in tune and routine in baseball.
Sure.
That I just knew, like, okay, the game ends, we go this way, we go out that door, the car's parked there, and there I was. So nothing crazy, outrageous, just that I've loved it from a young age.
All right, we're circling back to family here as we're kind of wrapping up. You have your lovely wife Emily, obviously your two kids. How did you and Emily meet?
I met my wife at my cousin's wedding. My cousin Julia was getting married. Obviously, a good portion of my dad's side of the family. My dad grew up here where I live in Ohio now, and his whole side of the family has been here their whole lives. And I was at the Arizona Fall League playing and left the Fall League to come back to my cousin Julia's wedding. I took a couple days off during the weekend so I could be there. And my wife and her family have grown up. My wife was born and raised here. So her father and my wife's father and my dad's brother, my uncle, were very, very close friends in high school, as was my dad with my now father-in-law. None of which I knew at the time when I met Emily. We just hit it off at the wedding and started talking, and the rest is history. So yeah, that was in I think that wedding was in 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It was, somewhere roundabouts there, but yeah, I come back for the wedding, to my cousin's wedding, met her there, and we never stopped talking ever since then.
That's so great. And
Yeah.
obviously, you have Avery and Austin. They did a phenomenal job as the junior announcers. I've told them anytime they want to take over, they just come up. They're like the unofficial mayors of Polar Park as they walk through and with all the staff and everything. They're great, and it's always fun to see them around and having a good time. So, in honor of your daughter, who I understand may or may not be going to see a very famous artist. We're going to play a quick game before we go. It's called Tailor Made or Taylor Swift. I'm going to read you some descriptions.
All right.
Here. Tell me if this is a tailor-made golf club or the lyrics to a Taylor Swift song. And we're dovetailing this into the fact that the WooSox Foundation has the golf tournament coming up in May. If you want to come out, it's a great time. It's the one time Chad and I are allowed to be together, closer together for more than 5 minutes. The restraining order kicks in, so it's a beautiful thing. So I'll read some words here. You tell me if it's a Taylor Swift song or a tailor-made, because you are a big golfer, tailor-made drive or club thing, the hitty thing.
Yeah.
All right. Wrapped in a clean, confident package, it has been strategically engineered to help players optimize distance and enhance forgiveness.
Tailor made.
Right. That is a QI10 driver. Could have been a song. We don't know. We'll see what happens with the Kelsey brother there. That could end up. That could be a whole new trilogy there. Romeo, save me. I've been feeling so alone. I keep waiting, but you never come. Is this in my head? I don't know what to think. He knelt to the ground, pulled out a ring, and said, "Marry me, Juliet. You'll never have to be alone."
Taylor Swift.
That's Taylor Swift. Do you know what song that is?
I don't know the name of it, but I got to say, while we're doing this segment, Ashley Green is going to love this, because she asked one of those little, blurbs during the season, with, the little spots they would do on Instagram. And she asked me about Taylor Swift. I was like, I don't listen to Taylor Swift. Obviously, that's changed in a massive way this offseason, because my daughter has fallen in love with Taylor Swift. So it's on in the car every single day now.
That's great. Let's see. Laser etched, spin tread, and a raw face to provide better bite and around the greens. And superior spin in wet conditions.
Tailor made.
Tailor made. That's a milled grind 4 wedge, ladies and gentlemen, available on their website. I remember driving to my house in the middle of the night. I'm the one who makes you laugh when you know you're about to cry. I know all your favorite songs, and you tell me about your dreams. Think I know where you belong. Think I know it's worth me.
Taylor Swift.
Actually, that's a poem I wrote during a game about you. Congratulations. So, Chad, thank you so much for taking the time today and for being here. And, we're looking forward to the season, and it's going to be fun. Hope people will be able to come out and catch you at the ballpark and everything. And on those days when they do the clinics, I know you're usually around, so that's a great time to come out and say hi as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, those usually the clinic days, they get rolling sometime around June or July, if I'm not mistaken. They run in July, I think, into August a little bit. And We do, I don't know, at least 4 to 6 of those, and have most of the staff out there and also a handful of players. We set up stations in the outfield, hitting, pitching, defense, infield, outfield, and we have a really good time with that. So they're hour-long sessions, and our staff and players enjoy that just as much as the kids do. So yeah, definitely come out to those.
All right, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Chad Tracy, the manager of your Worcester Red Sox. I've taken up enough of your time. You need to get back and do your chores before you leave the house for the 8 months. But looking forward to seeing you in Worcester and out there on the field. Thank you again, and our thanks and best wishes to your lovely family, both immediate and extended.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. We're looking forward to it as well. Look forward to seeing you guys.